4 closed beta details have been outlined. I'm going to give you everything that they've said about the Diablo 4 beta, what you'll be able to see, and I want to discuss with the live audience. Having the end game in a beta seems pretty huge, but very different, and I want to know what they think. We're going to be ending the previous stream about God of War Ragnarok and bringing that live audience over into this stream. So if you do like live streams, hit subscribe and the bell button, but I don't make you go search the live stream for the main topic. I'll put everything right here at the beginning of the stream. So make sure, though, you hit subscribe and turn on the button and the bell so that way you don't miss these streams and these great discussions. We cover a variety of gaming news topics, and again, I put it right here at the front end so you don't have to go searching for it. This is a Reforge update. The Diablo 4 beta is going to be very different when they get into the Diablo 4 closed beta because it's going to include the end game. I've got all the details, all the modes that you're going to be able to check out. Why is this related to Diablo 3? Is it going to be closed or open? What's included? Details about Helltide, Nightmare Dungeons, Whispers of the Dead, and Field of Hatred will be contained in this quick update, so make sure and watch the entire thing. Hit subscribe and the bell button, that way you don't miss my content, and check out Reforge Gaming where I stream live. So PC Gamer said that Blizzard wants hardcore Diablo grinders to help test Diablo 4's endgame in an upcoming closed beta, and this is so that they don't repeat Diablo 3, right? Diablo 3's endgame, according to this report, Diablo 3's endgame, according to PC Gamer, did not start off well, okay? If you remember going back that far, it was not always the game that it is today. And that's a big part of why the developers have been so focused on getting it right for Diablo 4. This has been a topic since the beginning, okay? Since they've been talking about Diablo 4, Blizzard has been talking about its endgame content almost since the day they announced it. It was promised to have some major changes to the systems and the players that were accustomed to things in Diablo 3. Keep in mind, this is just a closed test. The test will be closed and confidential, meaning testers will not be allowed to share or talk about their experiences and will presumably have to sign an NDA. So you might wonder, number one, why are you testing the end game? Why wouldn't you let us test the early game? Well, they actually speak to that. They said this: the full story of Lilith's return to Sanctuary is not something we would like to spoil prior to release. Players will experience a post-campaign Sanctuary during the closed end game beta. And they said, for many, the endgame is their favorite aspect of Diablo. We want to ensure it feels satisfying, and with no shortage of challenging variety to experience across many, many demon-slaying gaming sessions. So they don't want to spoil story elements that would likely then be contained in the beginning, and that also means they don't want to build some vertical slice that isn't anything that's actually in the game. I think this is a pretty good choice. The hefty closed beta that they'll be delivering will include Helltide, Nightmare Dungeons, Whispers of the Dead, and Fields of Hatred, as well as a Paragon board system that you can check out, which is based on the character customization system that they revealed last year. So here's what to expect from each mode. Helltide. This is a new region-wide event that becomes available to heroes only once they have reached World Tier 3 Nightmare difficulty. In a Helltide, the servants of Lilith are empowered, having their difficulty increase, but dropping loot worthy of the danger. Enemies can also drop cinders, which is a new currency used to open Helltide chests filled with powerful weapons and armor. Now, you might be concerned when you hear about cinders that you use to open a Helltide chest, but Blizzard went on a lengthy blog post that we covered in a recent video about Diablo 4 pay to win, and they said you cannot spend any money to get power in the game. They went out of their way to reiterate multiple times that you can't buy power. They didn't say gear, they said power. So the only things you can buy are cosmetic, so you don't have to worry about these Helltide chests and the cinders that drop to open them. Furthermore, Nightmare Dungeons will be Nightmare difficulty dungeons in Diablo 4 where you unlock upon locating your first Nightmare sigil. Each sigil corresponds to a specific dungeon somewhere within Sanctuary. These sigils will add special modifiers to their dungeon, increasing the ferocity of the Hell Servants waiting for you inside and providing higher rarity loot. Through completing Nightmare Dungeons, you will recover even more powerful sigils, introducing increasing death-defying modifications and challenges for you to overcome. So that will also be included in this Diablo IV closed beta. Whispers of the Dead. Scattered throughout Sanctuary, Whispers are frequently rotating tasks that reward experience gold and Grim Favors when completed. After earning 10 Grim Favors, player can exchange them at the Tree of Whispers for even more loot and experience. Now, it starts to sound like the game's getting a little truncated, a little compartmentalized, like you go to here to spend this and there to spend that, but I'm sure the content loop will start to make sense, which is a great reason to do a closed beta of the Diablo IV endgame. Last, but certainly not least, the Fields of Hatred. These designated PvP zones are the proving grounds for players looking to bring renown to their name through blood and zeal. While inside the Fields of Hatred, players can dispatch demons to collect seeds of hatred. To make use of these seeds, you will need to bring them to the altar of extraction, where they're smashed into red dust, which can be spent at the PvP cosmetic and mount vendors for ornamental rewards. So, rewards for PvP are ornamental. You use this dust to get them. You have to be quick to convert your seeds of hatred to red dust. They are the desire of other players lurking in the zone, and if they are skilled enough to overtake you in combat, your seeds of hatred will be dropped. So, that is everything included in the Diablo IV beta. They've got the Fields of Hatred, the Helltide, Whispers of the Dead, and Nightmare Dungeons. As always, be sure to check out Reforge Gaming, where I stream live, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'll see the rest of you right now. We actually already have a recording of that'll hit Reforge updates at some point in time today. I wanted to pick your brain about this particular subject, because this does seem a little interesting and at some level a little revolutionary to say, hey, we are going to let you literally play the end game because we want to know what you think. Could we get 23 more likes? Actually, no, scratch that. Give me like 100 more likes. Let's get close to 200 likes right off the rip. Those of you that came over from the redirect, there's almost 300 of you here. We should have plenty of likes from that batch. Keep in mind, we're not in the first stream anymore. We're in the second stream. The first stream was bonkers. We unlocked Lono Trash and Lono Kappa emotes. We're well over 2,000 members now. Hopefully everybody enjoyed getting memberships and new emotes and into the Discord. We will be doing a members-only community game night this Friday night, so make sure you get the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 open beta installed. But we're talking about the Diablo 4 beta because this sounds very different than betas of the past. And I am going to give you guys our first discussion question. Is the end game more important than the main game in Diablo 4, right? Like, the idea being, listen, we are giving you the end game. We want to make sure it's right. We don't want to have another Diablo 3, right? The main game's going to happen. There's going to be a story. There's going to be dialogue. There's going to be quests. That's all well and good. What about the end game? So many people, I think, are probably going to lean more heavily towards the end game. Content loop is king, says Silent Warrior. It makes sense to beta the end game, since most people will either continue playing the game or leave the base game alone. Justification says yes. Ace Man says definitely. Robert says both are important. Ace Man says story is important, but nothing compared to the end game. Right, the end game keeps things going. Diablo 4 seasons, all of the content that they're going to be adding to the Diablo 4 endgame to keep it going in perpetuity, they have to make those systems, they have to make sure those systems are sound. They have to make sure people want to keep playing and want to keep coming back. These are almost requirements of a game type like this. So if you're just tuning in, the latest Diablo 4 news is that there will be a Diablo 4 closed beta, and it is going to include the endgame, an exhaustive look at the endgame, actually. And I think that is pretty impressive. I think it's pretty ballsy to a certain extent, to allow people to see it. Long term, I would say yes, says Doom Reaper. Phantom Phoenix says yes, that's what keeps me playing. ZR says, ideally, the journey to the end game should be meaningful too. I don't disagree with that. I actually think they go hand in hand. You have to have a good baton pass. Like, your early game has to be enjoyable enough for me to say, I want to keep doing this. I don't think it's like we don't want to create like a false dichotomy where it's like early game doesn't matter, all that matters is the end game. Well, the early game is largely going to be the pieces and the parts that basically build the end game out, right? To me, I actually think you can't juxtapose the two against each other. I think they have to work in harmony. The main Diablo 3 game basically doesn't exist now. You can jump straight to adventure mode. Yeah, that's true. And you can just start, rocking a seasonal character. If you've never been here before, welcome to Reforge Gaming. We are covering the Diablo 4 beta. I don't know if I'm going to take the time to get into the Diablo 4 closed beta, because I am very much interested into how they build out the Diablo 4 endgame, because I think that's a huge, huge question mark for everybody. I've always said you can create a great content loop. You can create great action and cosmetics and weapons and builds, but can you create an endgame with elasticity and longevity? Can you do that? Because that's always the ultimate question for games like this. I also hope the leveling process... Oh, you love the leveling process in Diablo games. Are we actually going to discuss the topic in the stream? Yes, Warpath. Hey, we discussed the topic in the previous stream for about an hour and a half before you guys took over with gifted members. If you take this one over with gifted members, I can't stop you. I can't. Wait! Danzatastic, I missed this. I'm sorry. He gifted 5 members during the open, and I couldn't see it because I was reading from my show open. Hattori, Brob34, Jeff Arata, Overkill, and Abijith, you guys all got gifted members. We are now 5 members away from 2,100 members, which is what Insomniac Black said we need to be at end of next week for him to make up the difference with 400 members. So we are at 2,095 members now. That's absolutely massive. I enjoy leveling up and trying out new skills, says Dr. Dinglenut. I definitely think early game in games like Diablo 4 is very important because there's that new car smell. There's that every piece of loot that drops is exciting, right? Everything that you set your eyes on could be potentially helpful to your build or something that you have not yet seen. And I actually think that that's a pretty important part of the Diablo 4 gameplay experience. Like, if I'm playing this game beyond the beginning, right, I really, really need it to be stellar. I need that early game to be super, super enjoyable. The end game sounds good on paper, says Phantom Phoenix. Can't wait to get my hands on it, hoping for a beta key. Broken Messiah says, I'd rather have a great early game and a bad end game than the other way around. Oh, it's hard to choose, but here's the thing, Broken Messiah. I hear what you're saying, right? If the early game is good, at least you feel like you got your money's worth, right? Like, you play through the story, you level up a character all the way to max, and you kind of feel like you at least got your money's worth, right? As opposed to feeling like, golly, this early game's terrible. Does that make sense? Like, how are you even going to get to the end game if the early game is terrible? You know what I mean? People say Avengers is good at the end, but the ride sucks, so I didn't stick around. I've not heard anybody say that, to be quite honest. Most people say the game is bad from the bottom to the top, but that obviously remains to be seen for, if they can win somebody like me back over. I checked out the Black Panther DLC, and I thought it was awful. You know what I mean? I did not think it was worth playing. It was fun, but not worth playing. There's a difference between those two, I think. I play hardcore, so the beginning is just as important. I said I would do the other 5 to start the hype on this one. Oh, sorry, Danza. I didn't know we were going to do the other 5. Danza-tastic has thrown down the first 5 gifteds. He wants somebody else to pick up the remaining 5 to get us to 2,100. I've never played Diablo before, so I'm hyped for this game, says Jason. I don't know what I'm saying is in Diablo 2, a new character still feels fun, which is important. Yeah, there's something about that early game grind if you pick everything up. This is why I thought the Diablo 2 Resurrection remake thing was just, they needed to give you infinite sprint, and they also needed to let you stack potions because it made the early game unenjoyable. It's like you just couldn't pick everything up. You were constantly going back to town. Let's be honest, says Distorted. How much endgame do most of you or the average player even play, regardless of how good it is? What do you mean? That's where people live. Like right now, if you create a seasonal player in Diablo 3, that's endgame. You're not playing the main game, you're playing the endgame. Right? Yo, Phantom Phoenix picks up the remaining 5. You know what's funny? If we do another 100 more, we'll unlock another emote. We're at 2,100. If we get to 2,200, we will unlock another emote. It's unbelievable. You guys will get Lono Chair. Everybody was wanting Lono Chair. We did Lono Trash instead because we left it up to you. Alasdair Raw, Stephen Bade, Cami Anime, Patrick C, Broham, you guys all got a gifted membership. Make sure you get into our members-only Discord so you can connect with the community and take advantage of all those members-only perks. Endgame is the reason I want to check out Diablo 4 in the first place. Truth Teller, do the invites will be sent out to players outside the U.S.? I actually don't know. No Lono Kappa? No, we have Lono Kappa right now. You got Lono Kappa and Lono Trash already. Next on the docket is Lono Chair. I mean, in gaming in general, seasonal content in Diablo is still pretty unique these days. Only a few games do it. Oh, you mean in gaming in general? Well, that's the difference, though, isn't it, Distorted? If you're going to play a live service game, the assumption is that you're going to continue playing it beyond the main game. I don't think everybody does, but Diablo 4 is not meant to be a one and done. We have 322 people here. Tell you what, it's free to crack that like button, and a lot of you came from the first stream, and you were awesome in the first stream, and you already hit like. I need you to hit like again. We need 70-something likes. Please do that. It helps this second video. The second videos have been struggling because we don't have quite the momentum and punch that we do from the first stream. We've seen poor endgames kill games, says Doom Reaper. Yeah, I agree with that. I do. I agree with that. Early game, you feel each power up. End game is just tweaks. That's a good way of looking at it. Like done, thank you. Most of the people I know, says Distorted, and I see play games, they play the game to the end game or close to it, and they stop playing it and they move on to something else or go back to multiplayer. I have a really, really hard time believing that the player numbers in a game like this, the ones that go on, I have a hard time believing that that somehow like doesn't represent a good chunk of the community. I think, Distorted, you're describing a big chunk of the gaming community. I think you're right. I do think a lot of people will play the game, play the campaign, and then they put it down. And then they move on. Right? They're good. They're like, oh, I got the story out of the way. That's all I really needed. I think that that's correct. I don't think, however, that is everybody. Like, I think that's like a portion. I think there's also a portion that literally can't wait to get to the end game. They can't wait to run the season and get the battle pass and get all the things. Like, I do think that chunk of gamers aren't really what we're concerned with. Now, if you're answering the question, what matters more to you, the end game or the early game, there's plenty of people that are going to say, well, both. Or like they're going to say what you're saying. Well, the early game matters most because I want to be able to enjoy the campaign. I want to be able to enjoy all of the great story elements. And I want to be able to enjoy all of the amazing aspects of the game, and then I'm literally going to walk away. Like, that's all they need. Do you know? Like, I think that's probably pretty common for a lot of gamers. Now, but again, that's probably adding credence to the argument. Does Diablo 4 endgame matter more than the Diablo 4 campaign? And I think we would say, no, they actually both need to be awesome. Because you need to make sure the people that bought the game get that satisfying feeling of like, oh, I beat the campaign, that was great. And then you also need people to say, hey, the end game and the seasons are amazing. It's great content, and they keep on playing. You almost need to satisfy both. I'm somewhere in the middle. I love trying different classes and how they play, but I also love the end game and getting new loot. I'm using that to say the early game is most important to start with, at least, because you won't likely even get to the end game if it isn't good, and you can tweak the end game to match players' wants as they get into it. Yeah, I agree with that. The early game is a bridge to the Diablo 4 end game, right? And that bridge has to be good because so much of the end game is going to be built on that early game. That early game content loop, the dungeons, the enemies, the loot drops, the sense of power fantasy, right? Getting stronger, getting more abilities. And I do think that one has to serve the other, which makes it interesting to me that they're doing the Diablo 4 closed beta. It's the end game. So that tells me a couple of things. Number one, they seem to be pretty confident in their story in their early game then, right? This isn't their first rodeo. They can do a pretty good story. They can do a pretty good dungeon crawl game, right? The question is, did we build good endgame containers? Did the what are these things called here? The Diablo IV Fields of Hatred, like that's where you play PvP, and Whispers of the Dead, and Nightmare Dungeons. Like Diablo IV Nightmare Dungeons are probably going to be a significant grind for people because there's like 150 dungeons in the game. And then the Helltide, that's a region-wide event that you can do in Diablo IV. So, right, that's the question is they must be pretty confident. They must be pretty confident in that early game to say, I'll tell you what we do. I can't believe we have 2,100 members. That's just blowing my mind. I just double-checked it to make sure I was right. That's insane. If you're just tuning in, the latest news, the latest Diablo 4 news is about the Diablo 4 beta. And they're going to do a beta for the endgame. It's going to be closed beta, so it will be under NDA. But this is a pretty big question. Is this a good idea? Should you let people see it? Is the endgame so important they need to do a beta for it? And we're kind of debating that as a community. You can join in the conversation for free. Hit subscribe. You can talk in my chat. That doesn't cost anything. Do me a favor as well and smash that like button. We only need 30 more likes to hit the next like milestone. Most people only complain about the end game, so I can see why. They're focused on that. No one really remembers or cared about Anthem's campaign, but everybody had something to say about the end game. That's an excellent point. We had 18K 19 days ago. Yeah, we just hit 19,000 subscribers today. Yeah. 20K is within reach, baby. 20K. 25K is the big one, but 20K will be very, very nice. It'll look very, very good. 25K and you start to get treated a little bit different. I hope that Diablo 4 Endgame has more depth than just increasing rift levels which force you into meta builds. It would be nice if more of the gear can be used in the endgame. Right, that's always a challenge with endgame gameplay, is it just turns into meta gaming. Well, yeah, you need this, and this, or you're going to get obliterated, right? No, you got to build your character in your Diablo 4 class this way, or you're going to die. Yeah, I agree, Hilly. The way the day has been going, you can probably get a membership for free, too. Yeah, for real. I hope that dungeons and public events don't end up being like lost sectors and pub events in another game that we don't talk about. If they don't have substance, they will be pointless. No, I 100% agree with you. One of the things they showed off early on when they first debuted Diablo 4 gameplay, there was like a world boss fight, and it just looked awesome. There were all these people helping, all these people fighting, and then he drops this big chest at the end. And I thought that was dope. It was like, oh man, I want to do that. I love that feeling of like open world discovery and, you know, the first time you ever sort of roll up on something and it being literally a world boss. Like, I don't know. I get excited by that. I think that kind of stuff is meaningful and enjoyable when you have this sort of sense of open world discovery and random events happening and stumbling upon that and then working with a bunch of randoms to beat some giant world boss, right? And then the hope would be that you get good loot from it, right? I think the fact is that Diablo 4 is going to be made and curated for the people whom Blizzard can see grinding a year from release. Blizzard knows there's tons of hardcore people who dive into the grind. I'm new to the channel, definitely interested in what you have to say about Diablo. A good friend referred me to it. Referred you to Diablo or my channel? Welcome in, Trippy Moon. Thank you for being here. Feel free to ask any questions. We've covered Diablo 4 quite a bit leading up to its release. Obviously, it's not out yet, but we've covered it quite a bit and try to keep open to the Diablo 4 blog posts that they do and the news updates just so we don't miss anything. We covered the pay-to-win concerns quite extensively. We did 2 different streams about that. People started seeing whispers and rumors about the monetization and concerns started to emerge about it. I think the fact that Diablo 4 is going to... Oh, I already read that. Meta builds will always exist, though. It's just the way that the games work, says Justification. This is similar to Outriders also. I enjoyed the campaign, but the end game was very repetitive. It's been proven that it won't be pay to win, says Truth Teller. I agree with that. Yo, it's good, Troy. Been really into Diablo 3, and I'm very excited about Diablo 4. He referred me to Diablo, but I'm lucky to be here. Well, thanks for being here. Yeah, Diablo 3 is definitely worth checking out. I think going and creating a seasonal character and just getting familiar with the systems is well worth it. We need 25 more likes to hit 200 likes. A lot of folks that come over from the first stream are going sleepy on me. They need to be careful, says Hilly. I hope when you fight with people, different builds have synergy with each other. But again, if you need a Necro to make it 10 times easier, this becomes a problem. In World of Warcraft for raids, you need things and can't do it without certain skills. Right. There's a weird tension there, isn't there, Hilly? Where you want players to be free to play as they will and enjoy games as they will and not feel forced or funneled into a certain type of play style, into a certain type of build. But you also want certain builds and certain team synergies to feel rewarded. You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely think that has to be considered. Are you allowing players to have a sense of freedom and a sense of build diversity and viability with their class weapon of choice? Or are you almost inadvertently micromanaging the player experience? Well, you need this, or you need that, or without this type of player, you're going to be in a bad way. I definitely think that can lead to frustration, but also it can be an issue if there's no diversity even remotely required or rewarded. Does that make sense? Like if everybody's the same class and you don't feel any sense of weakness in your team comp, like everybody's running in as a barbarian, well, isn't that going to be a problem? Isn't that going to start to feel like, well, are you really doing anything? Are you really achieving anything? Or is it just so easy, so straightforward that like everybody can run in as the exact same class? I get an itch playing Diablo 3 over most other games. There's a sauce in there. Oh yeah, the early seasonal character grind is amazing. My wife and I were doing that, and I was really hoping that like Diablo 4 seasons are set up in a similar way. The only thing I don't like about Diablo 3 seasons is how much you need to do by yourself. Go beat this by yourself. Go beat this by yourself. Go do that by yourself. I'm like, I would prefer that to be do this by yourself or do this so that I could just continue playing with my wife. I plan on playing a ton of Diablo 4 with her. We love games like this. You speak on this. If I want to use a baby rattle as a weapon, let me, but please make it worth it. Still not sure what to play, a rogue or a barb, but can't decide, and it sucks. In the opposite argument, I feel it's important to have player agency so that your class feels like it is needed to perform a certain role. Right, it's almost more about rewards, positive reinforcement, as opposed to negative reinforcement. Like, hey, your team has a real diverse class representation, and there's a reward for that. You sense the benefits of it, and you sense the push and the power and the momentum, and you feel rewarded for that diversity. But if you punish people for not having a diverse enough team or build, that can start to feel like the negative reinforcement really sours it. It's like, well, we must do this. We need a healer. We need a druid. We need this. And I don't think you want to build the game that way. I think that's a really tough tension of creating player incentivization for build diversity and for using different weapons and different builds and different ideas. And there's a tension there between doing that, motivating it, incentivizing it, and punishing people that aren't doing it. Because if you punish people that aren't doing it, then you're creating this passive need funnel towards meta gaming where, they're going to kick you out of the group if you don't have the right thing. I think that there's a design philosophy tension there. It's why I like Diablo 3. I like how they do seasons. There may be some crazy seasonal effect that really shakes up the meta, like in this season where you could slot a fourth legendary effect. I do think seasons are a great opportunity to create those seasonal contextual modifiers so that things really change up. I agree with that. Probably going to go Druid. What's everybody going to pick in Diablo 4? Where do you think you're going to land? I, for one, loved playing a Druid in Diablo 2 So I'm really hoping that the Diablo 4 Druid gameplay is stellar. I've never really liked being a barbarian. I always like being, Druid, Paladin, Necromancer, Witch Doctor, Barbarian, says Sven. Thinking between Rogue or Barb, Druid or Necro, says Bin. Druid for life, says Jatsification. You're going to do them all to level 70, says Dr. Dinglenut. Wizard all day long, says Hilly. Mage. Yeah, wizard or a mage, says Broken Messiah. I want to play Barb, but at the same time, I want to stand out a little, says Rasmus. Rogue, says Red Baboons, 101 Red Baboons. Darth Nihilus says Necro. Rest in peace, Witch Doctor. I'm going to go for what's closest to it. Yeah, that's true. No Witch Doctor in this one. I only just started playing Diablo 3, says Christina, but I'll probably go with the character I picked in that. I just don't remember. What powers and things do you have? We can probably determine what you picked. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick, says Rainbow. Diablo 4 Seasons will be more game-changing than Diablo 3's ever were, according to their blog post. Yeah, it does seem like they'll almost feel like their own ethos and era. Yeah. What in particular stood out to you in the differences, Phantom, when they talked about the Diablo 4 seasonal format? Making people the jack of all trades but the master of none makes the game seem faceless, says Ant. I agree. Barber Druid, says Doom Reaper. To start, as my buddy will be the sorceress and get them all maxed though. Barbarian, says Mac 86. Crow. Necro to start, says Dinglenut. Now you're going to start with a Necromancer. Is there a magic nuke build? I've never played Diablo before, but I'm likely to jump in with... you've never played Diablo before, but you're likely going to jump in with Diablo 4. Yeah, I don't know about a magic nuke build. In order, Vengeance says he's going to do Necromancer, then Druid, then Sorcerer, then Rogue, then Barbarian. I'll definitely play all the classes, says Phantom Phoenix. I'm a spellcaster, says Talika from far back. My husband is always a tank, so we'll play together. That's always perfect, isn't it? Like, my wife likes to play, Demon Hunter, play far back, play range, and then I usually play something sort of mid-range or close range, but I've never done the Barbarian. Gonna miss my Paladin. Just posted an Xbox beta code in the VIP chat for someone so you can get the community game night going. Thank you, Silent Warrior. If you're a tier 2 or higher, we have a VIP chat in our Discord, and game codes go in there all of the time. Another great reason to upgrade to a tier 2 membership. I'm worried I will play only Diablo 4, says Mac. Is Necromancer all spellcasting, or is it a melee build? I actually don't know the details on the Diablo 4 Necromancer. Somebody in chat might be able to add some bones to that. We've covered it so much, I don't remember. I'm fairly certain you can do a blend of both. A Necromancer is usually about summoning and corpse popping, but, corpse exploding. But, you're summoning lots of people to fight with you. And typically there's not a lot of, you go in and do your melees, but you're trying to, put things on the ground and do big things to kill so then you can raise them back up. It's generally like a summoning class. Doom Reaper says Necro is generally a summon and spell build. Yeah. Robert says Paladin. I don't think there's a Paladin in Diablo 4. Want to add your friend. What in the world? Great comment, Creature. I don't play Diablo, but if I were to play, I know it's a big shock, I'd be a sorcerer. No way, sorcerer. You'd pick a sorcerer? Necro historically is summon, curse, bone spell. Necro Bloodwave looks so cool. Crusader or we riot, says Corey. People want the Crusader to come back, which was basically a paladin, was he not? There's no paladin in Diablo 4, at least not at launch. Diablo 4 Seasons will include new gameplay features, quest lines, challenges, mysteries that will all be experienced within the first hour of starting. So they're really setting up the Diablo 4 seasonal format to be a lot more like a springboard that sort of launches you out into a new experience and not just create a seasonal character and jump in riffs, right? I think that's pretty important to note. Yeah, I think that's pretty important to note. I was checking to make sure we didn't get any more coffee orders because I don't think they've gone out for the day yet. Crusader is a very aggressive form of a paladin, says King Salty. There is no paladin in D4 yet. Could come later. I think I went wizard in Diablo 3. Who is a support class then? Usually support class is going to be like a wizard sorcerer, so you can kind of stay back and do spells and support at range. You don't have to be necessarily like up in the mix. You can put things down to like heal or make your team, stronger, faster, things like that. Healing pools and stuff usually. I don't know the exact names for things, but typically the sorcerer can be great for support. Crusader is a melee-focused paladin. Real paladins are more of a support class with white magic, the opposite of a sorcerer. Druid doesn't seem like a support class. No, I don't think so. Not from what I've seen. I need to know if they have a succubus pet in Diablo 4. I have one in Diablo 3. They will also include, in a Diablo 4 season, extremely difficult final bosses to complete the season journey. Oh, that's right. I remember when we covered that recently. I was like, it sounds like there's going to be a real challenging sort of endgame push when the season ends. Yeah. I thought that was really exciting when we looked at that. Like the seasonal content push being like, hey, every time the season ends, there's going to be a really, really great reason for you to jump in. I think that's dope. I think that's dope that they're doing that. Like adding almost like a capstone endgame piece of content so that you get that feel and that need to kind of grind and get in there. I think that can be always really, really good. So the people that would just kind of want to grind and do the new things and run the new activities, they don't necessarily need to. They don't have to go do it if they don't want to. But those that really want to capstone the season, they can. You know what I mean? I think that's important. Wizards didn't have much for the group. Their magic glass cannons. I thought they traditionally had things to help the group out. Maybe I'm thinking of my Crusader. I might be having a false memory. True support doesn't exist, says Fuzzy, because you also need to be able to play solo. The best support was Necro because of curses and or Crusader because of auras. Yeah, and the corpse bursting was really nice on Necro as support because as soon as there's a couple corpses on the ground, you're just going pop, 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 pop. I mean, you're just popping everything that's on the ground that your teammates might have killed. Yeah, I guess that's true. They don't really do that level of intrinsic support requirement or like a support class. There are things you can do that help, but generally speaking, the classes that can kind of sit back and summon or create auras, I think they can help. I think they can be support, but there's not really a support class. That is true. That is true. If you guys are enjoying the broadcast and you've never been here before, subscribing is totally free and it allows you to talk in my chat. I am a Safe for Work broadcaster. This is our second stream of the day talking about the Diablo 4 beta. There will be a Diablo 4 closed beta and it is the end game. So we're sort of discussing the importance of endgame, who we would pick, why we would pick them. And I was asking people a little bit ago, like, what's more important to them, the Diablo 4 endgame or the Diablo 4 campaign? The general consensus was that the two are sort of interlocked together. Early game campaign, early content loop really sort of builds the framework for the endgame. They kind of have to go hand in hand. We need more memberships so K Billy can get a membership. We haven't seen enough yet. If you guys want to keep gifting members, go for it. If you want to put out a target on K Billy, if we get another 100 members, you'll get the Lono chair emote. It's my chair crying, like when I'm not here or whatever. So if you guys want the Lono chair emote, we're 100 members away from hitting 2,200 members. We hit 2,100 today. Oh, he's a branded account. Yeah, he can't do it. Paladin had damage and defense buffs that would cascade in an aura, which is pretty supporting to me. Right, but I think what they're saying, Fozzie, is the general thrust and crux of the character is that they're not a support character. They have support things, but it's not a character that's doing support, right? I can see your messages, Monty Mole. What's good? What's good, Light Leap? Guten Tag. How are you? Good to see you. Let's go with another discussion question, okay? Let's go with another discussion question. We said, is the end game more important than the main game? Here's my second discussion question. I always have 4, right? I always have 4. Does a closed beta, does the Diablo 4 closed beta, does it run the risk of ruining the end game for you? Too much player input? Could we get too many cooks in the kitchen? Would you avoid it? Right? Does it feel like it's going to ruin it for you? Are you going to allow people to shade it too much? We've seen other games appeal too much to streamers and streamer culture and hardcore players. We've seen this before in another game. Are you worried that the Diablo 4 closed beta is going to do that they're going to potentially ruin the end game? If anything, it saves it, says Jazzification. Endgame is totally more important than the main game, says Corey. Why is that, Corey? Why is it more important than the main game? I see them being intrinsically linked together. I forgot what I named myself in Diablo 3. What is that? Diablo 2 purists are very passionate. Oh yeah, I got a lot of grief and a lot of hate when I talked about the Diablo 4, resurrected needing all these changes. I got a lot of grief when I said that. Yeah. Truth Teller says, no, Endgame is for the long, hardcore Diablo fans. Do we know how they plan to select the beta audience? Benevolent, I believe you need to go apply to get a code. If you guys are just tuning in, the latest Diablo 4 news is that there will be a Diablo 4 beta. It's going to be a Diablo 4 closed beta, and it will focus on the Diablo 4 endgame, and we've outlined all of the endgame activities that will be included. Fields of Hatred, Whispers of the Dead, Nightmare Dungeons, and Helltide. And we're asking now, are you worried that this will ruin the endgame? Too many cooks in the kitchen, too much feedback, or is this a really good decision? I think they're looking to have more content and different types as you had to play the same content at higher level difficulty. Yeah, it seems like the endgame is going to be quite a bit varied in this. I hope they allow both hardcore players and casuals into the beta, says Silent Warrior. This way, they can get both sides of feedback and try to balance it. How important is it, do you think, they get feedback from casual Silent for endgame content? I will assume it'll get to the max roll folks. They are usually pretty on point with ARPG games, says Zach. You can spoil an endgame. They're usually repetitive, says Robert. I do random names in Diablo 3. I let the game pick my name. Oh, really? I love Diablo 2, but I like Diablo 3 system better. We need a Diablo 1 remaster. Crispy says, if they are going to substantially be different from Diablo 3's campaign, I would like both campaign and the endgame to be good. I put a lot of endgame hours into Diablo 3, so fingers crossed, says Dox the Fox. Hilly, Tenor responding to Hilly, sounds like I'm getting into the franchise at the right time then, looking forward to it. Ben says, I think I read you need to have recently played a lot of hours in Diablo 2 Resurrected or Diablo 3 to have a good chance at a beta key. Oh, really? They're basing it on people's playtime in the recent games. Okay. They will be selecting beta testers based on game data and how much time players have spent in the endgame of Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. You know, I might be able to get in because I played quite a bit of Diablo 3's endgame. Not Diablo 2 Resurrected, though. If they're looking for that, I didn't make it very far. Looking at a live service model, Diablo 4 wants to be. I still think endgame is more important, says Jazzification. Demon Eye says, afternoon all. Hello, good to see you. If you guys are just tuning in for the day, go through your ritual of smashing the like button and switching to live chat so you can see what everybody is saying. Corey says, endgame in these types of games is where the majority of players spend their time. It almost feels like a waste of money to one and done a game where the content loop is about getting better equipment. Yeah, it is interesting, Corey, because we do know there are people that are going to do that. They'll pick their favorite character, play the game once, and then that's all they feel they need to do. There are players like that. I don't think there's going to be that many in Diablo. There's certainly a lot of them. Like, I think there's a big portion of the audience, that big portion of the gaming audience, not Diablo audience, that will do that. I think it's important, says Silent Warrior, because eventually casuals will get to the end game, and to maintain player engagement, they need to be considered. If the end game is solely focused on hardcore, you will lose the casuals. What do you guys think about what Silent Warrior is saying? Do you think you need an end game that has accessibility points or entrance points for casuals so that it's not purely a hardcore endeavor? Do you think the longevity of a live service game needs to satisfy both ends of the spectrum? Do you need to satisfy hardcores and casuals with your end game? I'll certainly try it, says Kratos, but with the amount of games dropping, it's hard to put the time needed into these types of games anymore. Yo, what's good, Lonnie? Welcome in. I just want more endgame activities to get loot. Diablo 3 is just rifts, greater rifts, and bounties. Yeah. Stay a while and listen, says Chris Goyen. I think so, says Hilly. The style is more like Diablo 2, but loads of content. It sounds like they are fleshing the endgame out. I hope that they look at my Nintendo Switch and not PC for game time. Benevolent says, that makes sense, as they will want to receive useful feedback from the core audience. Phantom Phoenix says, they posted a blog post with instructions on how to qualify for a beta key. Docs the Fox says, specifically, we will be using gameplay data to invite a limited number of Diablo players who have recently spent significant amounts of time playing the endgame experiences in Diablo 2 Resurrected, Diablo 3, and Diablo Immortal. Yeah, I'm not going to qualify then. I've barely touched any of those games recently. I understand games should reach as many people as possible, but what is the point of the main game and the end game? The main game is usually to do two things: establish the content loop and tell a story. The end game is to be an ongoing, elastic gameplay experience that has longevity. I think they always have base beta testers on game engagement. My best buddy is a beta tester for D2, says Mutazbo. That's me, one and done, says Lonnie. You'll play it once and be done? Sorry to go off topic, but do you think Dragon Ball The Breakers has a beta on the 24th? You planning on trying it out? No, I don't really play those games. If you want players to stay in the end game, just make that the whole game, says Saint. I think they're kind of doing that. 150 dungeons in the game, and I believe they'll be randomly generated and they'll be part of the end game. So they're doing what I've always said, right? They're going to get a lot of use out of their capital. I wish they would open it up to far more players across the spectrum. Can't stand for devs relying on feedback direction on such a small percentage of the player base when making changes. They aren't the only players. Hilly says, in Diablo 4, they need loot, which has an insane drop rate. Like, I want stuff that may drop in my lifetime. Nothing else creates that pull than items which realistically you won't get. I feel like you have to do both, Hilly. I definitely feel like if you get to the point where a game is just not dropping the thing that you want, I feel like it gets really, really depreciating returns, right? I feel like you get depreciating returns because it's like, my gosh, you know, I'm never going to get it. I'm never going to get it. Sometimes I feel like things like that backfire. You know what I mean? I feel like things like that backfire. They start to work against the aim. Like, rare loot is good. It is. But if it becomes so rare that almost nobody sees it, it almost becomes legend. It almost becomes a myth. I think that can't be your primary loot driver. You're going to drive people nuts. They'll just stop playing. I think the rubber band breaks. You can only stretch a player so far with patience of like, I might get it, and then you go too far and it breaks and they just give up. Dropped a like, keep killing it. Thank you. Let's set our sights on 300 likes. If you're enjoying the content and haven't hit like yet, feel free to do that. Cool Zaki says Diablo Immortal's endgame was nerfed to the ground because hardcore grinders were abusing and exploiting anything worth doing in the alpha beta. The end result was more profit but less fun. So, Cool Zaki, are you concerned they're going to do that with the Diablo 4 beta? You think they're going to do the same thing? Lost Ark, for example, says Silent Warrior, they lost many players because getting to the end game required a huge time commitment and grind. Now looking at their numbers, it's abysmal compared to launch. What other end game features from other games would you like to see in Diablo, if any? Hang on. I'm checking. I'm checking these claims. It looks like they recently did maintenance. Over the course of the last 3 months, they went from hitting almost 300,000 player peaks to about 210,000 player peaks. So there has been a percentage drop. I don't know if it's as drastic as you're saying, though. It looks normal to me. Rare loot is fine, says Zubair, if there is a lot of good meaty appetizer loot. Keep me satisfied while I try to get the rare loot. If I'm getting nothing, I'm not wasting my time. Yeah, Graydon's saying something similar to Zubair. You need balance. You can't gear it, no pun intended, you can't gear it to hardcore players too much. Casuals will drop off. Right. Did Immortals actually get better to go free to play? I'm not... Oh, Diablo Immortal? It's always been free to play. What are you talking about? It's a free to play mobile game with massively pay to win structures in it. Hilly says, I think Diablo is accessible and easy to pick up than most. They can't make it less so. They need the end game to be tailored to hardcore, otherwise you devalue it. End game needs time investment to play, and once you get there, should be bigger than a journey to arrive. Okay, I've actually recently theorized, Hilly, that the age demographic of gamers doesn't have time. They don't have time to play like they used to. So when you say that you need to be able to be gearing it towards the hardcore players, I really think you need to be careful with that, because you'll drive away people that you consider casual, and they're not casual. They just don't have the time. 17-month milestone from my man Light Leap. 150 signs are not enough for our famous Discord copy pastas. Cheers to 13 months. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Light Leap. By the way, I'm not complaining at all. I'm just letting everyone know what a B-Lono is. Before any of you guys say crap, remember, you're on a gaming company's forums. Just remember that. I forgot about that one. That's such a good copy pasta. Time is the biggest factor. Right, like I've been continuing to say, I think we're about to enter into the era of the mid-lane MMO. I think the next age of MMOs is mid lane. I don't think they'll demand nearly as much time as they used to, because I think the age demographic that plays is like, I can't do it. I don't have time. I want to play. I want to do all the things, but my gosh. You know what I mean? You've not heard that name since Purple? He was here a lot and was on the Rageless Roundtable when we did that podcast about another game. Yeah. Hilly says, if you're not going to quit your job for Diablo 4, you need to reevaluate what your life is for. Oh, man. That cap is beautiful, isn't it? Silent Warrior says, it feels a lot less. I still play and have high item level. Most of those numbers are bots spamming gold in chat. My guild has had to combine 3 times in 3 months because people stop logging in. 150 signs. I think he means 150 characters for the re-up message. Diablo 3 is very casual friendly, says Akuta Papa. I can hop in and play stuff and feel like I made progress. You can get into low-level torments with very little work. So, Akuta Papa, what we've been saying is that Diablo 4 will need to appeal to both types of players in the way that you're kind of saying Diablo 3 has, right? Diablo 3 is perfect for a casual player to hop in and hop out, but it also is built for hardcore players, and we're saying that you kind of need to satisfy both. That's kind of what we're driving at. What got me hooked in Diablo game series even more was reading the Diablo Archive by Mel Odom, Richard A., and Robert B. several years ago. Great read. I've never read anything about that. I've never checked that out. Thanks, Mama. What's the news? Been on work at lunch? So if you're just tuning in, the latest Diablo 4 news is that there will be a Diablo 4 beta Okay? The Diablo 4 closed beta is going to focus exclusively on the Diablo 4 endgame. It will not be showing story. They don't want to spoil any of the story. And they have said they want to get the endgame right. They want it to be, basically, they want it to be perfect. Because I think they know this game lives or dies on the endgame. Right? Hellfire says, get a room. You need to feel somewhat episodic where I get a bunch of stuff for 1 to 2 hours, and then anything after that, it's a small buff, and that way, time can be less of a factor. Guys, by the way, if you are just tuning in and enjoying the show, I am a Safe for Work broadcaster. If you've never been here before, Reforge Gaming is a live interactive talk show Monday through Friday. I don't swear on the broadcast. We keep it safe for work, so you can throw me on in the background of your day. A lot of people treat me like video game radio. We need 50 more likes for 300 likes. I bet you we could hit 300 likes before the first hour of the broadcast. We're only 55 minutes in. Let's go. Let's hit that. Let's hit that next milestone. You lurkers need to come out of Lurkville and do it. You probably came from the first stream and you don't realize it. You're like, it all feels like the same show to me. Nope, this is the second show of the day. Robbie Ruggles says, I'm glad they're testing the endgame like this. The Diablo 3 beta was just part of the first act. I think that time is the biggest factor of all for games, says Corey, but I would rather spend time in one game that I enjoy than play 5 games that I'm lukewarm on. The Diablo Immortal situation, that's going to be a yikes. Wonder how much I have to pay to get good. They've doubled and tripled down on the fact that you cannot buy power. Diablo 4 pay to win is not a thing. We exhaustively covered that and combed through their blog. That's not something you need to be worried about. You don't got to worry about it. I was told there would be Kappas. Yeah, we now have Lono Kappa and Lono Trash. If we get another 100 members, we'll do Lono Chair. We're at 2,100 members right now. I'm watching a show. How did I get into this cult? That's right. I'm glad they're testing the... Oh, yeah. Yeah, the question that we had, that we were sort of batting around right now is, does the Diablo 4 closed beta run the risk of ruining the Diablo 4 endgame? Right? Too much player input? Do you not want to see anything? It is under NDA. Right? It is under NDA, so you don't necessarily have to worry about spoilers, you know. I got you on the company's TV for about 50 people the other day. Completely sane and very enjoyable, even for the clients that heard bits and pieces. Well, thank you, Drexen. Always direct anybody to go to reforgeroast.com if they want to order coffee. But if they want to support the channel, they can go to reforgegaming.live. Reforgegaming.live will bring them to the channel. This morning, I turned into a 1,600 member channel. Now I don't know. It might be too big for me. I'm just a small town chat troll. Shut up, Zubair. How do they pick beta testers? So if you want to get into the Diablo 4 beta, it's based on how much you played the recent games in the endgame especially. Like, if you have played a lot, they'll basically check your account and see how much you've played, and then they're letting people in based off of that. And I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense because what you want is, you want people that are invested, connected. You want people that understand what's going on, that are familiar with the systems, right? I do think you've got to establish that core base of like, hey, these are people that are heavily invested in the Diablo franchise. Let's get them in here. There's that personalized insulting I crave. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, no problem. I hope they pick the build crafters. We need them to break the game and to have the devs tune the items. Yeah, you almost need the people that are kind of crazy, that kind of go wild and kind of break the game. Keep the filthy casuals out of the closed beta? No, I agreed with the consensus that like putting casuals in the beta is important. Seriously. Like, think of it this way. If you've got people that have been playing Diablo 3 and they play twice a week, but that twice a week login time is consistent for the past, I don't know, year, you want them in your beta. You do. You do. You need those people. You need their money. You need their engagement. You need their playtime. Those people are actually very important. Now, I'm not talking about people that are like, I mean, I might play for like a week and then put it down. No. This is why they're checking your playtime. Because listen, if you've been playing the game regularly over the past 2 years, but you can only log in once or twice a week, somebody might say you're a casual. You want those people in the funnel. You want their feedback. Casual and hardcore servers? No, it's not even about that. It's all about creating a spectrum. You need a spectrum of engagement. You need a spectrum of entrance point. They have the Diablo 4 open beta for casuals later. No, I suppose the earlier they get in, the better. I do agree with that. I think it's about letting a variety of people in. I agree, says Akuta Papa. I enjoy just hopping in, but I've been basically clearing seasonal objectives every season, so I'm casually hardcore. Right, you don't log in every night, but you're clearing the seasonal objectives. That's not a casual player. A casual gamer is one who plays on and off, not someone who plays consistently. Yeah, I think the dilemma is defining casual player. This is why they're looking at people's playtime. Because more than likely, they have a spectrum that they're interested in. This person hasn't logged in for 7 months, and the last time they logged in, they barely played. Right? But somebody might say, oh, I play pretty casually. Yeah, the good old what's a casual player debate. Because you can be hardcore in spirit, but casual in your hours. Like, I can give you 2 hours a week. Right? I can give you 2 hours a week. I work on the objectives. You know, I run some rifts. I have a good time. OMG, you're so casual. You went to bed last night. You're soft, that's right. I have over 1,400 hours and I consider myself casual. I've done seasons and have done greater rifts over 100. So am I casual or hardcore? That's the problem. It's these terms are not defined anywhere. These terms are not defined anywhere. How do we know? I'm going to say boat is K Billy. I play every season and I push rifts to about greater rift 100. Playtime is not an indicator of casual, in my opinion, says Camille. I'd say it's how involved you are getting into the game. Someone who's pulling out spreadsheets for a game but only playing for like 4 hours is not a casual. Isn't just based on Diablo 3? I thought it was based on Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 Resurrected. I thought it was based on both. I'm really looking forward to the dungeons. Cities that change after you clear and cleanse them. I love seeing environmental progression. Yeah. How they've described Diablo 4 with respect to like the content loop and gameplay and things changing, I think it sounds really, really good. We are once again having that weird second stream conundrum. You gotta smash that like button. We're going to have to carry these second streams on our back. I don't know what's happening. We get shot out of a cannon on the first stream, and then the second stream, it's like we're not streaming. I don't know what to do other than to basically plead with people to smash the like button. We bring so many people over, I legit think we get punished. It's like you've got too many people not engaging. I'm legit thinking that's what it is. We've got to start smashing that thing. We're coming over, and we just fall down, and I don't get it. That's the only thing I could think. I'm checking everything. We're doing fine. They got us where we need to be. YouTube's treating us well, but I'm dead serious. I think it's because we come to the second stream and no one hits like, and they're like, your channel's not engaging, bro. What happened? Like, does that make sense? They think first stream everyone loves you, second stream they hate you, and it's like it's the same group of people. So that's why we gotta hammer away at that. I hate that that's a thing, but I think that that's a thing. That's the only theory I can come up with. Is that I think what's happening is, I think redirects have gotten better, and we're bringing more lurkers with us. And I'm worried that a lot of those lurkers they're away from the keyboard or something. So they're counting against us, maybe. I don't know. I've noticed that is the only correlating thing is redirects gotten better, likes are not getting better. Experiment without redirects? Oh, no, I'm not doing that. I always define casual versus hardcore, says Corey, in terms of consistency. I know people who play Diablo 3 every season versus someone who picked up the game and hasn't touched it since. Right. And see, here's the reason why I feel like that's superfluous as a definition, Corey. Oh, a casual is somebody who picked up the game once and stopped playing. No, that's not a casual. That's nothing. They don't even measure on the scale. You know what I'm saying? That's like saying that, like, you're calling someone a lightweight who isn't even getting in the boxing ring. It's like they're not even a lightweight. Like, you're defining a casual as someone who engages so infrequently and so low that I'm like, why would we even bother calling them a casual? They're not even playing the game. A non-engaged player is not a casual. That definition becomes superfluous. Why even refer to them at all? Oh, yeah, that guy's really casual. Oh, yeah? How often does he play? Oh, he played once 9 months ago. Okay. He's not really a casual then. He's not engaged. He's not playing. Like, casual versus hardcore only makes sense if we're speaking within the spectrum of people who are regularly playing. We ran into this all the time when we cover Destiny. Calling somebody a casual who hasn't picked up the sticks in 9 months, that's meaningless. You're describing someone who doesn't even matter. It's like, who cares? Like, they're off playing something else now. You know, they're playing Call of Duty or something. Does that make sense? People would call me a casual, says Akutik Papa, because I maybe play a week or 2 weeks total out of the season. I'm clearing anything up to T120 in a season. Though, when I'm playing, I miss the rest of it. I'm a casual cliff diver. Yeah. I'm a casual paratrooper. I'm a casual high diver, skydiver. Yeah. Don't feel bad. It's good to make us aware. The like button here is probably more important than other platforms. It's good to be reminded. It's free and easy support. Come on, chat. That's right. We need 5 more. Let's roll over to that 300. I'm telling you, it has a direct correlation to how our streams perform. I've always viewed it as time and content. In the last game, I was a hardcore casual. Long hours in the solo content. I just use the terms of someone who plays video games and someone who is a gamer. My wife plays video games. I'm a gamer. Right. I meant I went hard at it for a good long while and then I moved on. Right, but that's my point, is that if you're not playing, describing you as a casual, it feels superfluous. Does that make sense? You're not playing. You know what I mean? If I'm bowling every night of the week, and my neighbor is bowling once a week, and my neighbor on the other side bowled 9 months ago, I'm not going to refer to the person who bowled 9 months ago as a casual bowler. I'm like, you're not a bowler. You went 9 months ago with your friends, right? I would say, I'm a hardcore bowler. I bowl every night. My neighbor over here, he's more casual. He bowls once a week. Sometimes he skips a week, right? This person over here bowled 9 months ago. Like, referring to them as a casual wouldn't make any sense. They're a casual bowler. Oh, yeah? How often do they bowl? I mean, they bowled like 9 months ago. They haven't bowled since. Like, what? Why are you even putting them in the category of a bowler? Reckless Gambit with 9 months. Welcome back. Appreciate it so much. Superfluous is kind of a big word. I'm going to ask you to explain that one. One more time. Superfluous is like meaningless. I'm a hardcore Kit Kat taster. There you go. Extra and unnecessary. Yeah, it's just not necessary. You're saying something that doesn't mean anything. So someone who spends all weekend playing 2 days a week is a casual? No. We're saying, Charlie, you have to create a spectrum of terminology so that we can have some communication. It's not meant to be a slight or an insult, okay? So if you play all day Saturday and Sunday, and there's another guy that plays 5 hours a night, 7 days a week, that guy's pretty hardcore. I wouldn't necessarily refer to you as a casual. I mean, if you play all day Saturday and Sunday, I'd be like, well, that's pretty hardcore. You put in a lot of hours in, right? And by that definition, there are a lot of people calling themselves gamers that are not actual gamers. It's not about whether or not we allow someone to use the term. That's not the point. That's not the point. Not to be controversial. There's no need to be controversial. The terms, we're not using the terms as a gatekeeping, you're not a real gamer. I'm not interested in that. This isn't 4chan or Reddit. That's not interesting to me. That's just gatekeeping by insecure people. I'm talking about if your definition of casual is so low on the engagement scale, it doesn't mean anything. If we're trying to determine, can someone play the Diablo IV endgame in a more casual way? And if you're like, well, my definition of casual is somebody who plays once every 9 months, what the frick? Who's even going to entertain that as a subject? Right? Who's going to entertain that as a subject? Can someone play the Diablo IV endgame once every 9 months? No one's entertaining that. No one's even thinking of that. We're asking the question, someone who plays the game less often but regularly versus someone who plays the game as their daily hobby, right? Can you create a spectrum of content so both people can enjoy the game? Like, when you drive the definition so far to an extreme, it just becomes non-functional. It's like, well, that's not really a casual then. Nobody should be building their end game for somebody who played the game one time in a 9-month window or a 4-month window. The terms hardcore and casual cover a spectrum of players. However, someone who has played once or twice really doesn't fit into the spectrum at all. Casual at minimum assumes regular engagement. That's exactly right. That's what I'm trying to say, Nova. I think casual is one of those words that's extremely subjective. It's not even about playtime. You can be hardcore in the PvP aspect of a game and casual in PvE or vice versa. Exactly. I think it's fair to dictate a definition for a given discussion. That's what I'm trying to do, right? I'm trying to say, within the parameters of this discussion, let's establish that a casual is someone who plays once or twice a week. It's a short play session. They're once or twice a week. They're putting in like a 2-hour play session. And then hardcore is the daily lengthy session player. Every day they're putting in a long session. They're sacrificing other things to play. They finish dinner, they finish lunch, and they're clocking in for 4 to 6 hours every day. So you got the everyday login, and their sessions are lengthy, and then you have the once or twice a week, and their sessions are shorter. Now, these players, I think, both matter, and everybody in between. I think both players matter. If you're going to create a Diablo 3 seasonal character and you're going to log in once or twice a week and you're going to clock 1 to 2 hours, and there's a guy who makes a seasonal character and grinds his face off for 4 or 5 hours a night and does multiple characters a season, both players matter in Diablo 4. I don't think, and the reason we're on this subject, and the reason I was willing to entertain so much nuance and so much like persnicketyness with like, oh, what's a casual, what's not. The reason I was willing to do that is because I think it's vastly important to not say, who cares about the casuals? Who cares if they play so infrequently that they don't feel like they can get anywhere? Kick them out the door. I don't think that's the right attitude to have. I saw people saying things like that. They're like, oh, if casuals feel like it's too much of a grind, you frick them. You get them out of the game. Who cares? Who cares if they don't play? It's like, no, I think they matter quite a bit. I think they matter quite a bit. You can't kick these people to the curb. You can't. I actually think you need these people in the player funnel regularly. Our games are supposed to be moving away from so much screen time anyways. I play New World like 8 hours a day and every day, and I consider myself a casual. I go easy. Well, I mean, using the word like that's just kind of funky, right? Do we think that'll work? We can try that, Creature. You can try and update it. We'll see what people think. Because I think it will work. I'm worried the glasses might interfere, but I think it'll work. It looks good. Yeah. It just needs to be a square. Or do you want... I mean, I can do it. Or you can do it. Doesn't matter to me. We're gonna very, very shortly update something for you guys. Hardcore means something different in Diablo. Casuals usually have the money for the perks. Both casuals and hardcore, if you lose any of the two, you have a massive downfall. Yeah, I mean, I'm not telling you how to refer to yourself, Arvin, but playing New World 8 hours a day and being like, oh, I'm a casual because you go easy, I don't get that. Right. Like, imagine someone hunting or fishing for 8 hours a day and being like, I'm pretty casual, though. I just take it easy. I don't really care if I catch anything. Bro, what? He means he doesn't do hard content. Right. I don't try to get big game. I don't try to get big fish. I just take it easy. Bro, you're literally doing it. You're literally streaming for... you're playing for or fishing or whatever for 8 hours a day. Meh. I don't think it looks right. I don't think it looks good. I always feel like every time we've tried to make emotes of my face, I can't tell what it is. It just looks too non-distinct. It's so hard. We would honestly need an emote artist to take the Kappa style and just do a cartoon version of my face and make it the grayscale. I really think photos... We've done a couple of photo emotes before, and they never look right. I reached out to the emote artist, and he never got back to me. He's taking one of his big hiatuses from Twitter. He'll go like months at a time, just take big breaks from Twitter. Last time he posted was like May. Oh, Russell, could you do it? Yeah, Russell, could you do that? Like, could you take our current emote style and do a Kappa face and just make it look like me, glasses and a beard? You could probably literally take the Kappa image, like get in the Discord or DM me on Twitter. I'll send you the image and be like, just build off this. The shape and everything I think is important. It needs to really, really look like Kappa. Yeah, Lono bald and that one and the what's that one? The 100 IQ or whatever. Oh, Lono brain. I do think Lono bald and Lono brain work. It's just been really hard to get. We've tried a couple other ones with photographs. It just doesn't work that well. Russell, can you do it, but do it casually? It always makes me think of Han Solo. I don't know. Fly casual. People over 30 are true gamers. Yeah, everyone under 30 would disagree. That's a lot of people, by the way. That's a lot of people. Yeah, fly casual. Yeah, I don't know. Fly casual. I love it. Oh, man. I had a fly casual shirt somewhere that I designed. I can't remember where it is. Deadly Dad Gaming says, I watched your intro to this video. I think that if you don't have a great story to build off, I just won't care about the world that I'm playing in. The flow from the story to the endgame is important. I think to a certain extent, what you're saying is true. And I think people are way less worried. I think people are way less worried about the story in the game. Right? Because they have a history of doing really, really great, they have a history of doing really, really great work, really, really great stories, amazing cinematics, awesome voice acting. So I don't think a lot of people are concerned. Like when they look at Diablo 4, I highly doubt the average person is thinking to themselves, well, I don't know. I don't know. It might not be good. You know, it might be bad. Story might be kind of weak. I think the average person is like, no, man, I'm worried about the end game, right? I think that's like the primary concern is end game every time, which is why I think they're doing the Diablo 4 closed beta, and they're saying, listen, the Diablo 4 beta, 100% is the end game. That's what we want. We don't want people feeling like, you know, they're getting some kind of a raw deal. I was trying to look at all my old shirts with the sites being terrible. You know, I think people will feel like they get a raw deal if the Diablo 4 endgame is just not good, because I really do think that's where so many people are setting their sights, which is interesting. As we were having this discussion, it's like, yeah, but there are people who literally don't care about the endgame. They're not even going to touch it. Lilith is the main bad. Yes. Yeah. They actually said one of the reasons that the Diablo beta is going to not have story is they said the full story of Lilith's return to Sanctuary is not something we would like to spoil prior to release. So they want them to experience the post-campaign Sanctuary. The Diablo 4 closed endgame beta is going to be a post-campaign experience. They want you to experience the game. This is basically after you beat the game. That's I think their goal. I can honestly say I've never completed a Diablo game, but I played Diablo 3 Seasons. I wonder how many people are fall into that category, Alex. I wonder how many people fall into that category and are like, bro, I've never, ever, ever completed a Diablo game, but I've played the heck out of some Diablo 3 Seasons. Because Diablo 3 Seasons are just so accessible. You're just in and killing stuff. And you level so fast right at the beginning. Like, there's such immediate satisfaction in that game. I remember the time that I jumped in with my wife, and it was just immediately we were doing stuff. Immediately getting kills, immediately getting loot, checking those boxes and filling in those bubbles on your skill tree. Meeting your consumer base in the middle is maybe one of the biggest challenges of modern day gaming. Right, because it's one of those things where it's like you either go full on casual and ruin the game, or you go full on hardcore and it's just so inaccessible no one wants to play it. You know? I think the Diablo 3 story is worth playing, yeah. Seasons let you jump straight to adventure. Yeah, you're just in and doing stuff. I've never been an endgamer, says Kevin. Endgame has always meant I'm done with the game. See, what's weird about that for me, if you were to say that about Diablo, the reason I find that to be strange, for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you really, really like the dungeon grind in Diablo, why would you not keep going? Diablo 4 beta 2023, full game 2024, 100% delayed. Where'd you get that information? Or are you just claiming that? My question is, how do you really have an end game if this game is supposed to be an open world live service game? Maybe you spoke to this and I just missed it. So is this game going to be live service? Yes. It's going to be an ongoing live service game. Yes. Yes. The activities are called Fields of Hatred. That's PvP. And you can grind it and get these things, turn them to dust, and use them for cosmetics in the PvP vendor. PvP cosmetic and mount vendor. It's all ornamental stuff. Whispers of the Dead is scattered throughout. You can grind it for grim favors, and then you can exchange those for more loot. Nightmare dungeons there's like 150 dungeons in the game. The dungeons will be randomly generated, so they're always different. And nightmare difficulty dungeons, you unlock your first nightmare sigil, and then you use those to correspond to each individual dungeon that has them. And there's particular modifiers, and you run them for high rarity loot. And then there's the Helltide, which is a region-wide event that becomes available to heroes once you have reached World Tier 3 Nightmare difficulty. In a Helltide, servants are empowered, the enemies are empowered, having their difficulty increase, but they drop loot worthy of the danger. And they also can drop cinders, and you use those to open up chests with even better loot. Delayed for 2024? No one has announced a delay for 2024, so you're literally just saying nonsense. Like, you're not backing up your statement, you're just saying it again. They've confirmed the release for 2023. So, if it's getting delayed to 2024, they haven't indicated that. The Diablo 4 release date hasn't been... Had they given a specific date, or they just said... I think they just said early 2023, didn't they? They literally showed it in the Microsoft presser, and the Microsoft Bethesda presser, they said that everything they showed was launching in the next 12 months, and that was in the middle of the summer. That was in June. So, you got Microsoft and you have Blizzard Activision basically saying, yeah, the game's coming next year. And they said how to get the beta. Are they sending invites? I believe you have to apply, and when you apply, they're going to look at how much you've played the recent games of their end game. That's how much. They're going to make sure that you're a pretty committed and engaged player, because they want to make sure you're basically going into the Diablo 4 end game, right? So if they're going to give you access to the Diablo 4 beta, they want to make sure that you're somebody who's familiar and you've played it, and you'll be able to provide good feedback. Somebody that's like, oh, I heard Diablo's cool, and they like fill it out. Well, they don't know who you are. They don't know what your experience is. You could be a super hardcore Path of Exile player. You could be a super hardcore Path of Exile player, and you're very familiar with endgame grinds and RPG, and they're going to be like, yeah, we don't know that. The only thing we can check is we can check how much people have played our games recently, which likely means a lot of the quality of life updates that they've done to those games and a lot of the changes to the seasonal format, they want that in your mind when you go into the Diablo IV closed beta. They want you to hit the ground with a bunch of knowledge of, okay, I just came from that seasonal format, I just came from that recent update, that recent blog post. I'm very familiar with how they typically treat this game and how they typically treat this game's endgame, and they want that in your head because that's going to affect your feedback. So it's not just about are you an experienced player or are you an experienced Diablo player? It's how much have you played recently? Because it sounds to me like they're building off of a lot of what they learned from Diablo 3. Diablo 4 gameplay will likely feel like a very much extended, expanded experience of that game. Because so much of what they learned in Loot 2.0 and so much of what they learned in expanding that game is, in my mind, heavily influencing this game. Heavily. I think they want to homogenize the experience between PC and console so there's less and less console cheating like in D3. How are people cheating on console in D3? I'm guessing they don't want a Path of Exile game. While similar to Diablo and paths are different in many ways, they don't want to change the main product. Right. Yeah, they want you to be able to say, this is similar to Diablo 3. This is very much inspired by Diablo 3 and how Diablo 3 works. But it's very much, improved upon. It's better. There's more variety. You're not literally just rift. You know what I mean? Hacked gear was prevalent in Diablo 3 on console? Really? I'd never heard that until right now. Now I'm understanding, thanks. I've beaten 1 to 3, never really understood how torches or rift keys worked. Seasonal characters are basically designed for you to jump right in and start grinding again. It's kind of like doing an expedition in No Man's Sky. It's a little bit like that. Like, you jump in, you immediately have the ability to start leveling and grinding, and you don't have to do any story, you don't have to do any campaign. It's just immediate. Like, that's the point. And then you have so many weeks to complete all these different challenges, and if you complete all those different challenges, you will get these really, really cool seasonal cosmetics. And they'll do, like, seasonal modifiers, like change the combat, so, like, when you go into a rift, different things are happening, different things are appearing, weird cows, weird enemies, weird, awards. If you guys have been enjoying this second broadcast of the day, we started the day talking about God of War. Now we're talking about the Diablo 4 beta. Do me a favor and smash the like button. We love to hear from new people as well. We hit a nice milestone today of 19,000 subs. We are also at 2,100 members, which is bonkers. And if you want to help us get to 2,200 members, that'll give us some cushion for next week and unlock another emote. Insomniac Black is going to throw down the gauntlet next week and get us from 2,100 to 2,500 so that I have to play Just Dance. If you want to help with that, you might throw some gifted members at this very loyal crew. The people that are here right now are very loyal. We lost a lot of folks coming from Stream 1 to Stream 2, and you can reward the people that are still around if you feel like it. Path of Exile is better than Diablo 3 in my opinion, and they have similar gameplay and both have seasons and seasonal characters. Path of Exile 2 looks a lot like Diablo 4 as well and will be free. So if you don't like Diablo 4, go try Path of Exile 2 instead. When does Path of Exile 2 come out? Great job. Hi, I always like your vids. Thank you, George. I appreciate that. I remember someone duping gems or orbs or whatever they were in a room and they were yelling, "Don't take those." Oh, yeah. You hear that? He called me loyal, says Nefitz. Yeah, Nefitz, you're here a lot. I see your name in chat quite a bit. I do. I see your name in chat quite a bit. People were dropping modded gear in Diablo 3 all the time. I can show you a sick monk I got on PS4. Fly through the whole game, hardest difficulty in like 3 hours. The teleport allows you to just cut through walls. It's always interesting to me when someone does that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious how much enjoyment, how much enjoyment do you get out of playing the game at a breakneck speed? Now, if you've played the game many, many times, I could see saying, I'm okay doing this, right? I played the game many, many times. I'm flying through. Oh, Path of Exile 2 is launching in 2024? Okay. I could see, again, somebody who has tons of experience in the game being like, I don't really feel like playing through the game beginning to end right now, and again, skipping all of that and just doing literally a fly-through modded character or whatever. I can't see doing that on, like, your very first playthrough. It's like you're not even playing the game. You're playing some, like, other version, some weird amalgamation of the game. I'm not sure if we just had a blip or a stutter that caused some of you to have to refresh. If we did, that sometimes happens on YouTube. Just know that that's not on my end, and you usually just have to like refresh the stream to fix it. We did just have kind of a weird thing with total number of people here, so don't know if something weird happened. Mario Rabbids went gold. Diablo players seem to be upsetty spaghetti about these daily things they are adding. What daily things are you talking about, Fuzzy? Yo, 3 months from huge package. That's a nice milestone and a brand new badge for you. I was away and I got an email that I got a gifted sub. Thanks again. Always good to see people that are loyal like that get a gifted when they're not even here. Thanks for coming in and celebrating that huge package. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate you. A lot of my enjoyment they get from the endgame goodies first. Well, let's throw out another discussion question and see if we can't get chat and the stream to come back to life. I'm telling you, these second streams have been so weird. Do you think this is the future path for live service games to have early access or betas for the endgame? So the Diablo 4 endgame will be what the beta is. The Diablo 4 beta, that's what it is. You're going to be playing the endgame. Do you think this is the future path for live service games? Basically being like, come play our endgame. We need this to be amazing. We're going to let you play it before the game releases. They use a save editor on PS4. They move their save to a thumb drive and they modify it. Oh, that's how they do it. Reddit, but there's a point to this. That's the post. This person posted a good summary of the so-called endgame activities they have planned for Diablo 4. I find this incredibly underwhelming. It's basically all the systems people hated from Diablo 3. Bounties, rift key farming, and on top of that, adding a daily missable aspect to it. Daily activity design is used heavily in the MMO and the online gacha gambling games industries to keep people logging in every day due to fear of missing out on the day's daily rewards. That way, even when people run out of actual playable content, the company can report it hasn't lost too many monthly active users. Log in, farm your 5 evil dark shadow orbs, turn them in to the bloody altar for 1 orange keystone fragment. Collect 5 orange keystone fragments and transmute them into a heraldric pedestal to make a red keystone, which can be traded in at Rorgdor for a chance at the day's daily reward, which rotates. Missed logging in today? Too bad. Be more responsible next time. Only logged in 25 out of the 30 days this month to complete your daily Nephilim basket weaving? Too bad. You missed this month's end of the monthly gacha drop. Is it that extreme? Or is that guy being hyperbolic? It sounds like that guy's being hyperbolic. Or do you have to literally do all that stuff? Because I will agree with the sentiment of that post. I will 100% agree with the sentiment of that post. I don't like the idea of being like, if you don't log in every day, you're missing out. It's not that extreme in 3. No. He's talking about all the information coming out about Diablo 3. Oh, hyperbolic, but that's their concern. Okay, so they're worried that that's what it's going to be like. Gotcha. Okay. in my mind, I definitely think there are tensions between this. There are tensions between giving people something to do every day and it feeling like a requirement. Does that make sense? To me, it's one of those things where if you're going to give me something to do every day, that's great. So now as a hobbyist player, I have something to do. I log in. It's fun. I'm excited. Yo, what's good, Teddy? Good to see you, by the way. But if it's required and you're like, oh, you missed a day, womp womp, everything's screwed up for you now. Well, that's not in the spirit of it. Like, the spirit of daily logins is, here you go. Well done. Enjoy your thing. Enjoy your special trinket. Enjoy your whatever the heck. Instead of being like, oh, there's this negative element. There's this frustration that you're going to feel if you miss a day, right? Missing something? Hang on a second. Sorry. Endgame closed beta testing should be a must for games as service. Yeah, that's the question on the docket right now. That's our third discussion question is this the future for live service games? Do you have to do an endgame beta to basically say, we need to make sure we're getting this right? We need to make sure we're nailing the endgame content loop. Now, somebody might push back and say, how on earth could they tweak and change the endgame content loop this close to launch? And I would say, as long as it's 6 months away, I actually think they could make significant changes. Now, they couldn't make tectonic changes where it becomes a different game. But if you think about, within the first year, they'd be far more empowered. You know what I mean? Hello, Staff Nova. Hers is almost done. The dark, you see purple above. The pink turns louder when cool. Those look amazing, Teddy. Those look amazing. Hope they enjoy them. They're going to love them. Hyperbolic, but that's their concern. I already read that. That's why it should be a closed beta under NDA. Most players will get to see it naturally, but also it will be higher quality. Most of the live service games I've played that have improved within the first year, a lot of it is literally based on the feedback they get in the first month. Do you know what I'm saying? I've played a lot of live service games like over the years, and it's like the feedback they get in the first month, we see that met out like a year later. Do you know what I mean? So like if they do this beta in like September, October, and the game launches like 6 or 9 months later, they can lay a ton of groundwork to make sure the end game is in a great spot. That's almost a year later. They can lay a ton of groundwork with a day one patch, day one update, and then the very first season that it rolls over into, like season 2, they can be good to go with great changes. Yeah. We knew people were going to be frustrated by this. We got great feedback during the closed beta. All that's going to be fixed in the next season. all these people are going to come in and be like, oh man, we think this, we think that. Well, no, yeah, we know you do, right? Too Long Didn't Read is he only streams on Purple to feed his Clips channel, which drives more engagement than his Purple, which again, I wonder why, but there's some interesting points in there. Maybe I'm missing some context. Not nearly down as it used to be. His organic viewership is like 100 to 200 people. Comparing that to his YouTube footprint is dumb. He's just a liar. Yeah, he's just a liar. He's just a liar. Like, yeah. Didn't they say that in the latest game it should be out in May? Part of Microsoft's 12-month announcement. Well, right. So if it's May, so what? Okay, so if this thing hits in October, that gives them to November, December, May. That's 7 months. Yeah. That's 7 months. Yeah. 7 months. Do. Simply a jump start on getting that endgame feedback early. It doesn't negate the fact that the rest of the game still needs to be just as good. It sounds like they have confidence on that front. Yeah. They don't want to spoil the story, and I kind of said that. Like, if there's one thing I'm super confident in with Blizzard Activision, it's that, yeah, no doubt in my mind that they're gonna be nailing the story. They're gonna be absolutely nailing the story, because there was definitely a time where people might have doubted, oh, it might not be a good story, might not be good. But after Diablo 3, I mean, even if you hate on them for the end game, I don't think anybody had any issue with the way that nobody had any issue with the way that sort of the story played out. That was actually some of the better moments in that game was the story, I think it's hard sometimes because, if you're playing a game that's story focused, but it also has an end game, I think sometimes you get a total jaded view. You get this jaded view of like, oh, the campaign was good, but you kind of forget that because then everybody just remembers how bad the end game was, and that's all anybody focuses on. So I would hazard a guess that a lot of people, maybe there are people that are worried about the story because maybe they forget that, like, the Diablo 3 story was actually really good and very well received when it came out. People hated the auction house and people hated the end game. So your memory can get kind of jaded. It's like, well, the end game was terrible. Oh, okay, but the story was great. The cutscenes are amazing. Digitally pre-order Modern Warfare 2 and play the campaign up to a week early, beginning on October 20th. Dadgum. I thought they were doing like 2 days of early access. October 20th? Yeah, that's a Thursday. I think we knew that. Yeah, I think we knew that. I was fully engaged in Tyrael lost his wings. Yeah, when he rips them off. It's friggin' awesome. Anthem story was almost good, but then I remembered BioWare had written so much better. A lot of people judged Anthem against what could have been in their mind. Yeah. So a lot of people thought, BioWare is capable of so much better storytelling, and so they judged it against that. Want a stream key? Yeah, I do. Let me check out your game, though. Oh gosh, it actually looks kind of dope. Discover a world packed with puzzles, enemies, bosses, and treasure. Join forces with fellow heroes to hunt down the gods and strike them. MMO roguelike genres. Inspired by Realm of the Mad God and classic Zelda games, it's packed with challenging combat, puzzles, loot, boss fights. It actually looks kind of cool. See, I struggle with some of these games, though, because they end up looking really great, and then you go to their Steam store page, and it looks like a dadgum regular Nintendo game. And I'm like, there are good and bad ways to do pixel graphics. Do you know what I'm saying? And I always worry. This one hits on the 29th, and they're offering codes. So they are off. You can check it out. They're releasing on the 29th. MMO online co-op, cross-platform, partial controller support. It does look pretty cool. I might tell them that I want a code. We've been getting more and more code offers for games. Yeah. I'd love a code if I can play and record and publish before the release date. I'd love a code if I can play and record and publish before the release date. That's the thing I'm starting to add to my emails. It's like, I don't want your code for day of. The game is called Mythic. Mythic on Steam launches in like 8 days. I'm having to stipulate that to people now. It's like giving me a code for your game on the launch date. It's like, if I'm really that interested as a content creator, I'll buy your game and play it. Like, do you really think giving me free access day one is meaningful? Like, what the frick? Like, thanks for saving me $30 on your indie title. Like, I need to be able to record before, man. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that's what that game's doing. I'm saying a lot of games do that. They're like, hey, we'd love to give you a code. And then I go to use it, and it's like, yeah, you can't play this until the day it releases. And I'm like, thanks? What the, huh? Check out the member stream later. All right, Melrose. The Diablo 4 beta will also have full crossplay and be on all platforms, minus the Switch. Yeah, you'd probably be playing it day one if you already like the look of it, right? Or, buy it on Steam, record, and then refund. You know what I'm saying? Which would you rather me do? Do you know what I'm saying? Which would you rather me do? Giving you that campaign early so everyone's ready to jump into multiplayer? Yeah, they want to get the campaign out of the way. That's exactly right. Yeah, for Call of Duty at least. I'm interested. The only reason I probably won't play the Diablo 4 beta is because it's a Diablo 4 closed beta, which means it'll be under NDA, which means I can't record anything. I can't show anything. I won't even be able to talk about it, right? I won't even be able to talk about it. So it's like, that doesn't do a whole lot for me. That means I have to find time off stream to play the game and provide you with feedback that'll likely be in line with what everybody else is saying to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Mythic, it doesn't look very good. I checked out their Steam page on my phone. I thought it looked fine. It comes out in like 8 days. It looked like a cool little indie MMO. Let's see here. Yeah, they're streaming it right now on Steam. Yeah, it looks kind of like if you designed like the original Zelda to be like a top-down MMO with like some bullet hell bosses, good skill tree. The animation sets are pretty good. Master your build. Looks like a lot of people can play in a given instance. Yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. What game? Mythic. I'm already 8 minutes behind live, and it just keeps on buffering every day around this time. It just craps the bed. Yeah, between 1 and 2 o'clock, I can tell by the view count what happened. Yeah, I wasn't paying attention to it, but I can tell. Like, we were totally fine. I can literally look at the viewership bar. We were in the 330s. 330 viewers. 130 hit. Boom. The bottom fell out. Like, as soon as 130 hit, the last 20 minutes has been nothing but decline. And I could tell buffering was happening. I could tell. They're doing some kind of maintenance around this time every day or something. And I don't know what it is exactly they're trying to do. I don't know. was fine for me. I think it's a regional thing. I think they're updating the UI and adding features regionally, because somebody was watching on mobile this morning and they suddenly had new features that they didn't have like a day ago. I think they're just regionally pushing things out, and for some people it just causes all kind of trouble. The other day they pushed out something and everybody kept getting disconnected from chat. It was super weird. So super weird. Our deep dive investigation of this, Bloomberg has analyzed thousands of accounts that systematically find and follow my story. Quote tweet. Let's see here. No, don't tweet that. LOL. I've been on a warpath against that platform. What do you mean? Do the math. Who streams? It's bait? All right. It's a deep dive into the platform, though. How's that bait? The ceiling on YouTube is considerably higher. Yeah. The thing I was just pushing back on that Valiant was highlighting was that there are plenty of people who have massive upload channels and they try and go stream, right, on Purple, and they don't have good luck at doing it. Why? Because Purple is a very top-heavy challenging platform, right? So I've seen other YouTubers talk about this. Like, they go over to that platform and they try to live stream, and they just don't get any traction. Why? Because they go to, like, let's say they go to an established directory. Well, they don't get a ton of pull, right? They don't get a ton of views because they're not established in the directory, and so they don't make a ton of money. The person that you were quoting just goes over and inflates their view count. They're just a view botter. So, like, they're having the same experience that other YouTubers have, but they're just making themselves look way more successful than they are. Like, anybody in those viewership thresholds should be absolutely banking lots of subs over there. Nobody should be going over to Purple, hanging out in the 1 to 2K viewership range and not making good money. Like, that just isn't a thing. You're in such a high range, you're in such a threshold, you should be meeting so many people, you should be banging. And unless some games, that's not true. Like sports games, that's not true, because you're streaming to like 13-year-olds that don't have any money, right? Certain games, I remember a guy came in once and he streamed like a lot of the sports games, and he had way more followers than me and way more average viewers than me, and I had like triple his sub count. So I think there is that, to one level, that is true. But if you look at the games that person streams, it's like, no, you're a view botter. Like, you should have way more paying subscribers. Like, so, but that's not unusual. It's not unusual for a very, very big YouTuber to go over to that platform and to struggle to make a lot of money, and then they struggle to justify the time investment, because it's like, I went over there and streamed for 4 hours. I could have made like 2 videos in that amount of time, and I didn't make any money because I sat at the bottom of the directory, right? I think there is some insight there that is true, and the ceiling on YouTube is fantastic. We are now 1,000 subs away from quadrupling this channel's sub count. We started streaming here a year ago with about 5,000 subs. We hit 19,000 today. And we're live streaming. We're not even doing like really accessible 8 or 10 minute uploads that typically, when you hit a right niche and you niche down and have like good growth patterns, we're not even doing that. We're doing that live streaming on the platform, and the platform's not built for live streaming. It isn't built for live streaming, and we're still growing. So I actually think there is some insight there that, like, yeah, you can definitely grow a lot more, get discovered a lot more over here. But it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for really big YouTubers to try to stream on Purple and to just have a terrible result from it. But when you view bot and you pay for viewership over there, it doesn't make sense. You're like, people from the outside looking in are like, you're at the top of the directory. You have a couple thousand viewers. What do you mean it's not worth your time? Virtually everybody else in that viewership threshold is making bank. Why aren't you? Because their viewership's fake. Yo, what's good, Sergio? Mick says, I hope people re-up on their own. Yeah, we hit 2,100 members today. People went crazy with gifted memberships, right? They went nuts. We hit 2,100 members. If we hit 2,200 members, we'll unlock another emote. And next week on the 30th, as long as we're at 2,100 members, Insomniac Black will drop 400 members on the stream so that we hit 25. I said if we hit 2,500 members this month, I'll do a Just Dance stream because I thought there's no way we're going to hit 2,500 members in 1 month. The fact that you're a safer work streamer just makes it more compelling to stay around. I appreciate that. 2,100, yes. People went absolutely massive in the previous stream. We got like 300 gifted members or something. It all started by me saying something like, hey guys, it's been a while since we've had some gifted members. The first person to gift some members, I'm gonna give you a match. And who was it? Was it Jazzification or somebody? I forget who it was now. I should remember who it was. They dropped a 20 bomb right off rip. And I was like, oh. There was no chat, only gifts. Yeah, it was pretty bonkers. YouTube Lurker was timed out by Nightbot? Oh, golly. Oh, for 5 seconds. It was a fun stream. Yeah, you got smacked. I'm going to switch back. Yeah, I'm going to switch that. Remove. What? Cancel. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to fix that. I want to go back to the old one. The new one's just awful. Replace. Then publish. Take that, YouTube Lurker. Yeah. That's right. Any thoughts on The Last of Us 3 coming? I'm sure they'll do it. Yeah, I'm sure they'll do it. I have no idea. Wish we still had That's What She Said. Yeah, that was like a collection of That's What She Said's on the other Nightbot. Yeah. We got a date on the watch party yet? I've been away. No, I'm going to have to talk with Madam about it. I don't know when we'll do it. Maybe we could just replace community game night this month with it. That might make the most sense. Because the Call of Duty beta will be this Friday. So you'll get your community game night this Friday. And then next week on the 30th, we could do it. Instead of doing community game night. That might make the most sense. To celebrate that day just going insane, right? A movie will take a couple hours anyway. Well, usually Friday nights are like around 3 hours. So it'll probably take us a second to get everything set up and make sure everybody's ready. And I'm also going to want to make sure the past broadcast can sync up. I'll tell people, right now we have the movie paused at XYZ frame, right? So if you're watching the VOD and you want to hear our commentary along with the video, get your movie synced up to that point, and I'll say press play, 3, 2, 1, now. And then I'll say, hey, we're going to pause it in 3, 2, 1, pause. So anybody watching the VOD can do, like, if you're familiar with riff tracks, it should be like riff tracks. It'll roughly line up to anybody, watching the past broadcast that can't be there for the live thing. Because everybody else watching is going to be in Discord, basically. Because if you're watching in YouTube, you're not going to be synced up. You won't be synced up in the... Well, no, you could watch on YouTube and sync it up yourself, or you could listen in YouTube and use the Chrome extension. You could do like one or the other. Because the Chrome extension will let me control your movie. It will. So you'll want to listen in Discord, though, because of stream delay. So if you're going to use the Chrome extension and you're going to let me control your video player, then you're going to want to hang out in the Discord. If you're going to watch on your own TV, and you want to watch the YouTube video and have that next to you for the audio, you're going to want to watch the YouTube video, and you'll want to sync up and press play when I say to press play. So I'll make it very clear. We'll probably have like, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes of instruction so everybody can get ready, and then we'll basically watch the movie together. Which means you don't necessarily need Disney Plus. You just need to own the movie so that you can get it to the exact point that we're going to press play, and you could watch it on a DVD or something. So if you own any of the Star Wars movies, you'll be able to watch along and enjoy the watch party. I just can't show it or let you hear it on YouTube. It'll be muted on the broadcast. Madam and I will be able to hear it, but you guys won't be able to. I think there's a way to do that, isn't there? Monitor, no. Yeah, I would have to mute the desktop audio so we could hear it and you guys couldn't. Yeah, that'll be easy. Sorry, what movie? Star Wars Episode 1. Every single month we hit 2,000 members, right? Because we'll always dip below and then spike back up. Every month we hit 2,000 members, we will do a Star Wars watch party. So we're going to start with Episode 1. We'll go through all the movies, and then we can work through, I don't know. After that, we could think of something else. That's 9 months worth of movies. So we've got plenty of time to think of something else. Where are we on the likes on this? We just continue to something's still going on. Can we get 40 more likes? Let's try to flip that like ratio around. To hit way more likes than people. That might be good. As we're getting ready to kind of shift gears here. I really want to tag along. Never watched Star Wars. It'll be a freaking blast. If we can nail the format, I think people are really going to like it. I do. I think people are really going to like it. They're going to be like, oh, man. Like, you're going to want to be a member every month for it. You're not going to want to miss out. You're going to want to maintain your own membership or start a new one. That way you can be a part of it. You know what I mean? It's going to be really, really hard to not be a member when that kind of thing happens. People are going to be like, oh, my gosh, you know. We play the beta in stream. Which beta are you referring to? Is this just episode 4? No, Star Wars episode 1. We're literally going to start with the first movie. My wife actually likes episodes 1, 2, and 3, and I hate them, so it'll probably be hilarious. No, I don't have rudeness to say. I hate episode 1 especially. Diablo 4 closed? No, I won't be able to stream it, homie. The Diablo 4 closed beta, I will not be able to stream it if I get in. It's a closed beta, which means it'll be under NDA. That's sort of the whole point of a closed beta. Closed beta doesn't always mean that, but it usually does. It usually means that no one can talk about it or show anything. Closed beta sometimes means, like, it sometimes means invite only, but usually it means at some level it's closed off from public. The public can't see it or consume it, play it, or anything else. If I remember correctly, back when you were doing the Rewind channel, you specifically stated that Star Wars The Last Jedi was the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. No. Oh, that'll be so fun when we get to those ones. That'll be so fun when we get to those videos. There's gonna only be a couple more days where we premiere my reaction videos and take everybody over, okay? We're only going to do this. We're only going to do this a couple more times. And then eventually, these videos are going to have to fly on their own, okay? So you're going to have to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss them, okay? If you like these videos, if you think they're really fun, then you are not going to want to miss them, right? You need to make sure you're subscribed. I'm not going to do this anymore after this week. We did this to kind of jumpstart that channel and get it into a good place, okay? And we've been going over a little bit earlier lately because the second streams have just been kind of, for whatever reason, they've been dying super fast. So I'm going to be taking you guys over there right now, okay? Anybody can watch this. It's one of our 4 channels. It's a reaction channel. I'm reacting to a hilarious blog about Battlefield 2042. I'm going to put a link in chat just in case redirect doesn't work for you. When we are done over there, we'll come back here for members only. There's a ton of new members today, so we want to make sure and welcome them in and say hi to them and give them a great extra showcase, right? Is the movie a watch-along Lono riff tracks? It'll basically function like that. Like, yes, me and Madam kind of riffing. Correct. You'll have us next to you on YouTube or in Discord, and you'll have the movie playing on your laptop or TV. If you use the Chrome extension, I'll be able to control the movie. If you're watching on your television, you're just going to have to be quick on the draw. I'll give people warnings like, hey, we're going to pause it in 5, 4, like I'll give a countdown. That way you have time to like, oh man, I got to grab the thing. I'll give people a warning like, hey, we're going to pause it in about a minute, you know, so if you're out of the room or you're like, oh, I got to use the restroom, you'll wait a minute. I'll try to really structure it well so that people don't get out of sync with what we're doing. So, okay, so I am going to send you guys over to my reaction to Call of Duty exclusivity as an opportunity for Battlefield. Right? What's the name of the extension? I can't even remember now. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. We'll give all the instructions in Discord. Probably have a clock in the corner. I don't know about that. Netflix watch party. It's something like that. It's some kind of a watch party app. Okay, click the link in chat if you want to go over to the redirect. But you don't want to ride the redirect. And like I said, we will come back here for members only content. Okay? All right.